Terri Toennies has got an incredible event that she's done. She's got really a varied background. All of her information, again, is in her bio in the binder and in the mobile app. And she's here to really talk to us about how security is really now our responsibility. It's not anything to delegate anymore. It's a C-suite imperative.
By its very definition, terrorism is about striking fear in the heart of the public. And there is no better place than so-called soft targets. The arena in Manchester, the airport departure and arrival halls in Brussels and Istanbul, restaurants and concert halls in Paris, a Christmas market in Berlin, a boardwalk in Nice, the nightclub in Orlando, an office Christmas party in San Bernardino, and the list goes on and on.
It's impossible to secure all places at all times at 100% security.
We bring you back live to the International Broadcast Center in Atlanta right now, and the mood of our program changes dramatically at this moment.
We have some breaking news.
Breaking news at this hour from Orlando, where there are reports of a shooting at a nightclub.
We're getting reports that 10 people have been killed, 38 others have been injured.
We're reporting that 2 explosions have been heard at Brussels Airport.
It was about 15-20 minutes ago near the finish line on Boylston Avenue here in Boston when I heard 2 explosions.
About 30 to 40 police cars that we can see from our vantage point here on scene. We've got a police helicopter in the sky.
Our affiliate BFM, our Paris affiliate, now reporting at least 60 people are confirmed dead.
A school shooting reported in Connecticut at an elementary school called Sandy Hook.
It might have been carried out by foreign or domestic terrorists, carried out by a sophisticated group or an unsophisticated group, could have been just a lone wolf type terrorist.
To reiterate for you, this is a still unfolding scene and a tragedy, the scope, depth and breadth of which we can only start to imagine at this point.
Nothing is inevitable until it happens. Good morning, everybody. Not a great subject, a very somber subject actually to be addressing with you today, but something that us in the trade show industry have kind of ignored, hoping that the venues are going to take care of it and that we're just going to follow suit. Who am I and why am I talking to you about security? I'm not a security expert. I come from 30+ years in the event management background, working with Hyatt Hotels, House of Blues, and a number of different venues where I've done everything from NCAA Final Four pregame events. I've done an NFL Super Bowl in New Orleans. I've also been able to work with numerous concerts and corporate events at the House of Blues in both Las Vegas and in New Orleans as well. And now I work for one of the global auto shows in the world, one of the top 5 shows in the world, which is the LA Auto Show that also has AUTOMOBILITY LA. AUTOMOBILITY LA is our 4-day trade show where we have over 5,000 journalists and media coming from 63 different countries. So we have a lot of people coming in and out of our building that are certainly something we want to make sure we protect. What I want to leave you all with here today is that it's our responsibility as executives to take on security. Many of us work in trade shows where perhaps years after years you've had the same contract management doing your security and you listen to what they tell you, but I'm here to tell you that you need to get involved. So why change it? When I first came to the LA Auto Show, which will be my 5th show this year, we had a subcontract security team that had been doing security the same way for the last probably 20 years. They had perimeter security. They checked to make sure people had their badges right. And then obviously we have the consumer aspect of our show, which doesn't affect most of you here in the room, but it's a big proponent of ours because we were just making sure people didn't get in without a ticket. That has all changed as terrorism continues to infiltrate our venues. The Manchester attack last week, in a way, was interesting that I was coming to talk about this because I said, here it is, it finally hit home. It hit home at a concert in England and shows us all that it was perimeter, it wasn't interior. If people were checked on metal detectors coming in, if bags were checked, guess what? It didn't matter because it was as people were leaving, which now makes us look even bigger on our scope of what we are doing. When did you last review your security positions at your event? If everyone can please answer on the poll, I think this is an important thing for you just to think about. Do you do it every year? Does the security contract come up for renewal and that's when you do it? Did your contracted security management take care of it? Or if it's not broken, why do we bother to have to fix it? Okay, so 59% of you do every year. Good. We have to do that, and as the world changes, every year there's something new that you have to put into place, whether it be now you have some kind of, like they do at the arenas, where you have special bag policies, or where you now have to do, can't come in with anything other than something the size of a cell phone for some event venues. How do we do that in our trade show world? Well, we have to consider how we do it because we don't want to have a picture like we see on the screen now, something that affects us down the road. In most venues that you go to for sporting events or concerts, you have a metal detector you walk through. You'll often see armed guards or armed police on the fields, and then you also have some kind of bag check going on. This has been happening at concerts and arenas for at least a good 5 to 10 years now. How many trade shows do we go to, whether it's a group of 200 or whether it's a group of 20,000, where any of these security policies or procedures are in place? Venue bag policies are very common at arenas, but we don't see them at our trade shows. I made a mistake last year, and I will admit when I make a mistake. We changed our bag policy to a small clear plastic bag that is 16 by 16, which was great. We got the word out, everybody understood it. But inside, our exhibitors are giving out 20 by 20 non-clear plastic bags, which I'm sure you all experience as well. Though we did pre-message it, we didn't pre-message it well enough, so we'll work on that again this year. But approved clear totes are kind of the way that people are going now, and it's something that's pretty easy to do from a trade show standpoint if you let people know ahead of time. Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, has security checkpoint processes and have had for a number of years now. And they have families with diaper bags, and you have a lot of cameras and a lot of camera equipment coming in. If Disneyland can do it, we can certainly do it as well. Universal Studios in Hollywood has a safety policy that prepares guests that they may be subject to additional screenings, which is important when you're looking at liability issues. Our convention center that we're at, and we're a little luckier than the rest of you in that we're at the same venue every year. I can't take the LA Auto Show out to Vegas, though I would love to because of the size and space capacity challenges I have. But I do get to know the neighborhood very well. And we're located right next to LA Live, which is by the Staples Center, which is a major part of downtown LA. So it's not unusual for us to have a full convention center with our trade show and then have something going on at Staples Center next door and something going on at LA Live. So it's really important that we work really well with all of our partners. So the question is, who are we protecting? We're protecting not only the venue, which is here, the beautiful convention center in LA, but we're also protecting 25,000 media and auto industry executives that come for a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday program prior to us opening for the consumer show. You can imagine the level of senior executives that we have in that room, CEOs from BMW, Mercedes, and Porsche in the room, along with media, like I said before, from all over the country. We have trillions of impressions that happen with our show because everyone wants to know about cars and wants to be part of the automobility industry. We also recently have garnered more technology attendees, and we've basically increased the size of our trade show from 12,000 in 2012 to 25,000 in 2016, which is why we can't do security the same way every year. Inside and outside of the venue, I spoke a little bit about Manchester and the fact that they had an exterior issue last week. We have, outside of our show, we have test drives that take place during our trade days. We also have an outside technology pavilion that we've built, a 55,000 square foot tent that goes outside. Admittedly, last year I did no security at that tech pavilion, and I had people ask me why, and I said, I don't know, because I treated it like a regular conference. So this year, we're going to put metal detectors going into that technology pavilion as well. As a hospitality executive, one of the main things that I always get concerned about is lines. I hate waiting in lines. I hate waiting in lines to park, waiting in lines to get in someplace, waiting in lines to register. But now it's really the way the world is and what people are doing today, and we have to accept that and make people go through as quickly as they can, but it's for our safety and their safety. Some of our potential threats that we don't think about sometimes from a trade show standpoint. At any given time, we can have 1,600 day laborers in our show building the show. We have a 12-day build-in into the convention center, a lot of double deckers, over 1 million pounds of rigging, and flooring just about for everybody. So those 1,600 day laborers have always in the past just walked into the back of the exhibit hall. They'll come in through the back entrance, they'll go inside and register, whether it's with one of the union teams or whether they're registering with one of the EACs, and then they get their wristband. So this year we thought, why are these guys walking in, and gals, with their toolkits, with their backpacks, into the building, and no one's checked them yet? Then we wristband them. That's kind of backwards, isn't it? So this year, beside having LAPD on the back entrances as the day laborers come in, I am going to use canines to do sporadic tours throughout the 2 exhibit halls during move-in, and we are going to bag check all the bags as they come in the back hall. There's going to be a lot of moaning and groaning. There's going to be a lot of people complaining that they're late for their shifts, but again, I'm just going to have to really communicate that. Those are the day laborers that you don't really know about. Then you have your bad guys. These are the guys that just want to cause a scene. They want to find something that's going to go socially live, make people realize that, look, I can come in and I can destroy this area. And those are the people you don't know how to find out about them. They're often the lone wolf attackers. They could be on social media, but often they are not. And the best way to do that is just to make sure you have eyes and ears, see something, say something. It's really important. At the LA Auto Show, as I said when I first began, when I first got there, we had one team that was a subcontracted security team. They did exterior security, they did interior booth security, they hired the LAPD to do security, and then they worked somewhat with the convention center. Well, I don't believe in silos for very many things, but for security, I believe in silos. What we've now done is we've added 6 different teams to our security setup. We have the LAPD, which are in uniform and armed. They are the only armed personnel allowed on site at the convention center. We have canine units, which are explosive-smelling dogs. There are also a couple dogs that are actually specially trained for gunpowder and gunpowder residue, which is also important to have around, especially during our consumer days. We have an executive event services. They now handle all of our interior exhibits and all of our test drive. Any areas where an exhibitor is hiring someone, they do that separately. We have United Security, who has now come in and does all of our exterior and perimeter security. They also do the bag checking and the metal detecting, and also wanding as well. We have a company called Empyrean Productions that does they're ambassadors. And you think, well, what do ambassadors do? These are trained people that actually work a lot of festivals and a lot of concerts all around the country. And what they're trained to do is see something, say something. They notice if behavior is odd. They're in uniform, they're there helping guests, but they're always around to make sure that in anything that looks out of place, they let us know. And we have about 40 of them on the floor at any given time. And they're friendly, they're approachable, but they're also very observant. And then we have the LA Convention Center security team. Many of you probably work with your different convention center security teams. Probably my biggest battle was getting it away from the us against them mentality and sitting down with them as a team and saying, look, we have to work on this together. How can I partner with you? How can you partner with me so that it works well for both of us? And we're still getting there some days, but for the most part, it works well. So obviously, all this security is a lot of money, right? We spent an additional $225,000 in security last year. This was not a surprise to the board because, again, as an executive level, I went to the board about probably 9 months out and said, we're going to have to increase our security. I'm concerned. We're in LA, the 2nd largest city in the United States. We have a lot of international visitors here. We got to take care of people. So I ask you, if you say I cannot afford it, truly, how can you not afford it? Because can you lay your head down on your pillow at night and know that your building and your attendees are all secured and are going to be safe at your event? Another poll question, which might help you figure out how to afford it if you don't already do this: who contracts and collects payment for exhibitor security services? The security company, your internal finance team, your exhibitors contract and pay, or the venue? When I first got to the LA Auto Show, all of our exhibitors secured their security directly through our security contract company. And being somewhat financially minded, I thought, so we're paying day labor security at $11 an hour. They're charging our clients $25 an hour. Who's making that extra 14 bucks an hour? It wasn't coming back to the show. Well, it was going in the security management pocket. So we've changed that. We now do everything internally, and we've increased our revenues very well on the top line, obviously, to the tune of about $600,000 is collected in exhibitor fees. But even more important, bottom line, we take about $300,000 of that back into our pocket, which helps pay for those extra fees. Yes, it takes an additional body in the office. We all know that our exhibitors never get their forms in on time. But if you can get your exhibitors' security to run through your own team, you can actually make up that markup yourself, and our clients don't think anything of it because they're going to have security. No one will ever say, don't put security in my booth. So that's how you're going to make those golden dollars. So who does what and why? I spoke about all these different teams that we have, and it does seem like a lot, but let me show you on a pie chart how this works. So again, we have venue security, which is the LA Convention Center. They basically do their 24/7 security throughout the building. They also have over 300 cameras on the center. I asked if I could integrate their cameras into our camera command center, and of course the answer was no. So instead I went ahead and hired Unified Command, who does 36 cameras for us directly. Those cameras are on a 24-hour command center that we oversee. So between us and them, which we try to make it be us together, we're able to pretty much see everything that happens perimeter and interior of the building. LAPD, when I first got to the auto show, LAPD was hired through the center. They just went directly to the LA Police Department, and what they do, as many of you are probably aware of, they just take the next person on the bottom rung and go, okay, you're working this show, this is where you're going. So there's no interest, there's no enthusiasm. They could care less. They might be coming off a 24-hour shift to something else, but they're the next on the rotation. So we hired a company called Around the Clock that does contract LAPD security. They only hire off-duty officers. These off-duty officers take vacation during our show to specifically be on call for our show and work our show. They're dedicated to what we're doing, and they're the same people that we see day in and day out, and that's made a tremendous difference. As I said before, they're also armed security guards. They also have a direct contact back to Central Division, which is the main police division in downtown LA. So they work with our team if they hear of any threats, if they know anything's going on, if there's protesters walking and blocking the streets. We hear about that firsthand instead of from LAPD to the center to us. We know about it first. We have the ambassador program I mentioned, which is Imperior, which is our liaison team that also helps oversee exhibit security. They keep an eye on our exhibit security and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do overnight. Perimeter contract security, again, is United. The interior exhibit security is EES, and then we have the K9 units. The other great thing about the K9 units, other than, of course, these dogs are amazing, is they like to roam. They don't want to sit. So where sometimes your contract security and your LAPD is very comfortable just standing in one place, these dogs like to go and go. So this year we're actually going to increase, I'm going to replace 2 LAPD on golf carts with 4 roaming dogs instead, because I just think it's going to be more effective. No offense, cost is about the same, but they do a great job. This is something that we use called a dot map. And it's just, that's no technical term, it's just because there's a bunch of dots on it. But this gives you an idea of how we actually plot our security. There's different colors for all the different teams. This is just a smidgen of one of the days that we might have security in place. But this is a great tool for our MODs that are on duty, or my vice president of operations and myself, to take the map and we walk the space. The only way you're going to make sure that, that what's happening is what you want to happen is you have to inspect what you expect. So, start planning. The best way to start planning is you have to be at the table. You have to begin early. I just had a meeting on May 23rd with all of these teams that I noted here, all in one room, bought them their cookies and their coffee, but we went through day by day what's going on during the trade show. The trade show part of our show is ever moving, ever evolving, ever flexible. We have a lot of networking events. Like I said before, we have test drives. We might have executives being dropped off by certain vehicle manufacturers coming to certain areas. They all want to stay and wait for the CEOs to come. There's a lot of moving parts, and everyone has to be really on their toes as what's going on. We can never begin early enough. Including all the teams, everyone was there. The general manager from the convention center was there as well. Again, when you talk about buy-in, you want to make sure that person's at the table. We've explored shared costs with the venue. A lot of us go, the venue should pay for this. It's their venue. They should take care of it. Ultimately, that's really not going to happen. There may be a place down the road where venues are required to provide you metal detectors and provide you with the bag check and the tables and maybe the personnel. But I think we can probably rest assured that they'll probably pretty much come out of our pocketbook for all the years to follow. So with the venue, they bought a bunch of metal detectors. I could have rented my metal detectors through our perimeter security team, but instead I rented them through the center, and I basically said, here's a budget I have. They can't say no because they want you to be there. So I was nice and gave them some money, but I didn't probably give them as much money. It was about half of what they actually wanted for them, but it worked. Explore shared positions with the venue. The center has 24/7 overnight security as well. So on our overnight security, if some of our outside guards need a break, we can get the center to actually break them at no charge to us. And that was something that came about just in conversation. And the most important thing you can do is check, double check, and triple check security shifts pre, during, and post. I'm well known for coming in at about 5:30 in the morning. Our show typically doesn't open for our trade show till about 7, but I will walk every single post. And you can ask, I think Rick Simon is in the room, and he was on the floor a couple times. That radio starts squawking right away, because any hole, any place there's not a security person is an opportunity for something bad to happen. And that might sound very dramatic, but it's that one time that that position is not covered that you're going to be sorry that it wasn't. Our command center, like I said before, we have 36 cameras. We have a 24/7 command center. During the day, during the show, LAPD monitors it along with one of the camera people. After the show closes, trade days, that's about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Then we have an overnight LAPD person that oversees it along with the partner, and they trade between the camera and between the floor itself. So in conclusion,
engaged, object detected, contact averted. Intelligent forward emergency braking.
Woo, that was close.
Oh, she's good.
Roger that.
Nice touch.
It's gonna take more than that, guys. Come on.
yes, that was one of our press conferences during our trade show. Those are the only kind of surprises that we want to see ever. So in order to avoid the other kind, just again, be sure to recap your meetings, ask for input, listen carefully. We don't know it all, we'll never know it all, and you need to learn from people around you. Look at all the opportunities to improve for the following year. Diligently follow how other organizers tackle and implement security at their venues, events, and shows. If anyone wants to come out to our show, and we're happy to walk you around, show you security posts, any lessons you can learn from that, we've been more than happy to do that. And then use best practices. At the end of the day, success is often achieved by those who don't know that failure is inevitable. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Well, Terri, thank you very much. And I knew you were going to have a fascinating take. I knew it was going to be very valuable, but I had no clue that Coco Chanel,
yeah.
You would end a security discussion using a famous designer. So
Why
wonderful.
not?
Thank you again. That was great information.
Sure.
We have time for a few questions. We have one in the back, okay, using the mobile app, please.
Do you have crisis management exercises to prepare for worst case scenarios?
We do. We actually have a crisis communication plan that we've written with our public relations team, and there's also a crisis plan from the center. So we took what the center's plan is, we took our plan and we meshed them all together into one crisis communication plan. What we'll do is we'll share that with the team as a whole at about 2 weeks out, and then we'll make sure it's posted in the appropriate areas during show site.
Please.
Do you change your security procedures from the B2B side to the B2C side?
We do. During the consumer side, it becomes more about bag checks and the metal detectors, even more so than the B2B side. On the B2B side, which I neglected to mention, I apologize, a lot of photographers coming in. They have cameras, they have their laptops, they have a lot of equipment on them. So the bag checks may not be, they're pretty thorough, but the metal detectors are not as effective. So we actually try to route those people with their camera bags through a different entrance. Where during consumers, everyone's going through metal detectors. And also we have satellite areas during our consumer show, which are outside exterior, smaller entrances, but those are hand-wanded.
Okay, back there. And then is Larry Arnaday in the room? Yes, no? I guess no. Okay, so there's a question. He just got busted. Who's got the question?
I do. I'm curious. We have a global show, so we have international exhibitors and attendees, and some of these manufacturers are also involved in the military. So without any warning, without any announcement, we'll have various government agencies that will show up, representatives that are Secret Service, FBI, et cetera, and they will impress on the show staff, we need to have access to your show floor. Right. We have to have access for security purposes. We have a protocol, but I'd be interested in what your thoughts are on that.
What we've done, because again, being in downtown LA as well, we get a lot of police officers that come through and they have their weapons on them and they want to get in the door. So we defer anything like that goes to either our security liaison, who I have a lead person that is a floor contracted person that comes in about a month ahead of time and works with us on security. We'll make them talk to that person, and then he will make sure that he dictates to our police officers, everybody else, who these people are, where they're going to be, when they're coming in. And we actually try to get them in through the back entrances because we can control it better because you only have one person you have to tell as opposed to all the other entrances of the center. But I'll usually get the call going, there's someone up here, they say they're so-and-so, and I either take care of it or I'll send someone to take care of it.
We have a question in the back.
Okay. No, Sam, I think you were saying, you were talking about Larry, so I just wanted to bring up, ESCA is working with IAVM and in cooperation with IEE on the MC program, basically working with the Department of Homeland Security and the Safety Act to set some standards for our industry. Is that something that you feel strongly this industry needs? I know that it's a challenging, you talked about who pays for it and different, you have an organization, maybe you have a budget, but we have other events and other organizers obviously that financially cannot do the things that you're doing on your event. Right. But we all do believe in security and safety for our events.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, and that's why, and I probably should have mentioned it, I didn't mention all the associations that are looking at security today. There's not a single journal, magazine, whatever in our industry you don't pick up and the headlines or something about security. I think that unfortunately we're playing catch up, so the best thing I can do right now is make sure that our show's protected and safe and maybe set an example that others will live by. There is going to be that association that only has 250 people, but has just as important people in attendance as a show with 25,000. So how do they get that to be paid for is going to be something that I think the venues are going to have to start writing in their contracts. It's probably going to be something us as show organizers are going to say, you need to provide me with this at the entrance of the doors. And I don't know if the venues are going to be able to say no, because I think at some point it's going to have to be required.